Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back for episode 20 of our Ulusaba sofasafari. I can't actually believe that those words are coming out of my mouth at this stage. 20 episodes. It's pretty crazy that it's gone on for this long. But yeah, very special little milestone for us there. I'm sitting with Brad and Tom and Ryan behind the camera this afternoon. And yeah, we're gonna quickly just drive up ahead here before we lose visual. You might see in the distance there into the sun that we've got a very large herd of elephants all moving across the Sand River here. So we're just going to try and get into a position there where you guys can see them slightly better, and we'll go from there. But yeah, welcome back. Let's get going.
Let's do this.
Do it. Giraffe there also, eh? One side there, Brad. Alright guys, so we are, as I mentioned, just sitting down in the pretty much in the Sand River up on the kind of northern edge of it, where obviously there's no water at this stage, but it means it might affect our kind of signal and reception slightly, so we do apologize for any kind of poor quality there. Poor quality on the guiding front. We'll try our best to alter that as much as we can, but we can only do as much as we've been gifted with. But yeah, sitting with a nice breeding group of elephants here. Initially we were actually sat with a big bull elephant who we might see again, but we were hoping to kind of show him off in the beginning. He's been trailing this herd of elephants here, and it's been a very kind of slow start to the afternoon for these ellies. Quite warm, as you can see, compared to our last few sofa safaris where we've all been bundled up in big jackets and beanies and all the rest. So everything when it gets this hot, you know, is generally quite slow going. But now that it's slowly starting to kind of cool off, we're starting to see them move off a little bit. Just sticking to the river, but maybe edging up out onto the river bank. So we're going to see where they head off to. We've already lost most of them, but maybe we'll try and get up ahead of them somewhere. Yeah. I think maybe we can catch these ones crossing Bejan track here. Like most of them carry on here, Brad?
Yeah, there's a group that came up this road, and another group further down.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to have to go with these ones, because that side we've got that eroded section.
Yeah, still making about 50%.
Yeah. Yep. Nice big lady up ahead there. Yeah. She's running off.
again relishing these nice blue streams. They're still pretty fresh here around the river.
Yeah, as Brad says, of course this river is pretty much like a lifeblood at this time of year for most of the. Oh, there we go. But yeah, pretty much the kind of lifeblood or the driving force at this stage, this time of year. Very dry elsewhere. As Brad has said, a lot of the vegetation is kind of dwindled off and then died off. So here along the river we've still got these good kind of nutrient-rich areas, nutrient-rich soils, good access to water. So a lot of the trees are still really kind of palatable and high browsing value. So yeah, it's obviously during the winter, if we come to the river, we can't really go wrong. You're generally going to find something. I mean, even in our build up to this afternoon, trying to find something for you guys to see, we had seen quite a fair amount. But of course, beautiful big breeding herd like this, always lovely to spend time with. What it's like through there, Lutu. Yeah, might have to try and head around.
Yeah.
There's our big bull. You might just catch a glimpse of him there.
Beautiful big bull.
Yeah, a nice big breeding bull. Many of the younger males that we've showcased in the previous sofa safaris have not necessarily been breeding bulls. A breeding bull we can generally estimate maybe 30 to 40 and 40 plus years. But that's generally only when they become large enough to start competing for those breeding rights or the kind of access to the females. So a big bull like that, he's pretty much for one thing and one thing only, and that's to reproduce. But after that, he won't stick around for too long. Yeah, I think so. Quite a big block in there though, but we'll see. And als ik kolom ja, dit waar dat Machimba. Might even be able to make it out, and we've probably kind of mentioned this in some of our previous sofa safaris, but obviously one of our kind of best ways to kind of judge whether it's a male or female is by looking at the horns. So you can see straight away beautiful big very thick horns there, and if he does tilt his head down again, you'll notice that they're bald on top, so they lack that very kind of obvious feature, the kind of paintbrush that we see with the females. There we go, right, zooming in a bit, you might see the balded horns, or ossicones rather, but generally we see that balding just from many years of necking or kind of using that head as a club. So obviously it wears away at the hair over the years, but that's how they compete for females, is the necking, which is quite a bizarre ritual or very ritualized kind of fight that we see. But very interesting to see the kind of resulting kind of what happens to his body, to the horns, and you can even see on his kind of forehead or down his between the eyes there all the scarring. So he's an old battle-hardened male giraffe.
Strange, he's munching on a guari.
Yeah, desperate times.
Yeah,
Eh?
almost palatable. Eh? They're also able to seal their noses up quite tight. Some of these trees have got ants all over the place. A lot of these trees have what we call, they're actually bugs. They suck the sap. Spittle bugs, I think they're called. And these ants, they harvest the honeydew from these little bugs. And when animals like giraffe or even other browsers like kudu come and feed, it alerts the ants to disturbance, and they go run up the branch and attack the whatever it is, the giraffe, let's say. And hopefully he moves off, so the tree gets a little bit of a bonus there from the ants. A little symbiotic relationship. And protecting the tree at the same time. Protecting their food source from spittle bugs.
Yeah. Amazing all the adaptations that we see out here.
Yeah, very cool.
So yeah, you can see very kind of happy and kind of calm in the presence of those elephants. You know, many people often ask about the various interactions or relationships between different species. Generally speaking, most herbivores are completely happy to be hanging around other herbivores. They generally all tend to have common enemies. You can imagine something like a giraffe with that outpost-like neck. He's got all of his senses right up there, very good eyesight, very good smell, very good hearing, and of course he can generally see or detect predators far earlier than most other species close to the ground. So generally, you know, most animals are happy to have them around, and that's often why we see giraffe are very calm in their demeanor. It's just in that ability to detect predators, whereas, you know, certain other species who are predated on more heavily or more frequently because of their kind of level on the food chain, I guess you might notice that they're more timid or more nervous, more highly strung. Giraffes are definitely the coolest cucumbers out here, as you can see. Bit like Brad.
Nice.
Cool cucumber. We found your spirit animal, Brad.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's it. Took me 10 years to find my spirit.
Yeah, finally. But still very alert. You can see he's heard something off in the distance, and I immediately looking to see what it might be. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, that's exactly how we found Day One, the male leopard, who just kind of surprised us. But we were able to find him because of the reaction of the giraffe. You can see he's lost interest in whatever it was. So we can assume that it's nothing really worthwhile, but always looking, always keeping an eye out, and that's just life out here. These guys have to be ever vigilant, ever alert. Look at that long tongue, 45 to 50 centimeter long tongue there. So obviously very kind of prehensile, as you can see him flicking it out, but great ability to kind of maneuver in between thorns and around branches, pulling off all the leaves. And of course, it goes without saying, but he's a leaf-eating specialist. He's a browser, and having that long prehensile tongue goes hand in hand with coping or kind of dealing with that efficiently. He's also got a very thick kind of gooey saliva which coats the gums and the inside of the mouth. And then something quite interesting on the inside of the lips, something called papillae, which is almost like little bony bumps or protrusions, which act similar to like armor plating in a way. So once again, he's perfectly equipped to deal with his niche, which he finds himself in, which is being a leaf-eating species. And then you look at that beautiful long neck. You can imagine there's not many creatures or leaf-eating creatures, browsers, that can compete with him at that level. At the moment, he's obviously browsing down quite low there, but generally he doesn't find himself with much feeding competition. maybe the elephants, but as we've seen, they've got a very different method when it comes to reaching some of those higher branches, that powerful trunk and forehead, breaking big branches off or pushing trees over completely.
All right. So I've got a question for you guys. The direct question was asked if we've lost any giraffe to lions at Ulusaba, but I think you guys could potentially elaborate on predators hunting giraffe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely something that wherever you have giraffe and wherever you have lions, we do see every now and again that the lions are successful in bringing them down. Normally we find that it's either younger individuals, so very frequently we see the babies or juveniles get eaten, females who are of course much smaller than this big male that we've got here, and also the kind of aging individuals who, you know, they running out of steam, they're not as physically strong as they might have been or capable on their feet, but we do see it happen every now and again, and in certain areas we find that lions have almost specialized in hunting giraffe. You know, if they have a very prominent population of giraffe in that area, they figure out their quarry. So we see them chasing them into riverbeds or using kind of rocky outcrops, chasing them into them, and hoping that this animal might lose its footing and fall down. And once a giraffe is down, of course it's extremely vulnerable. So yes, we do definitely see lions take them down, and you can imagine it's quite a feast. I mean, a big adult giraffe, you might find those lions feeding on that giraffe for up to a week, over a week in some cases. And we've had a few recently, not necessarily taken down by lions, but fed on by lions. So there's a couple of very kind of precarious spots along the river with big kind of rocky sections in them, lots of boulders, and unfortunately these giraffe can occasionally lose their footing, and you know, if they break a leg crossing the river, that's generally game over. Nice to have such a relaxed individual there.
Yeah, very nice. Very cool. Yeah, just on the topic of the lions, also wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of a kick from a giraffe. You know, some of them able to stand their ground. You know, most of the time they'll panic and run, but if there is a situation where they can stand their ground, then they'll defend themselves. And I don't know if any of you folks have ever seen clips of giraffe defending themselves against lions.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
quite
impressive.
brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
Powerful creatures. Yeah,
Very powerful. Yeah, one kick in the right place can kill a lion too.
for sure. Yeah, and they've also got a very unique ability to kick in almost every direction, so it becomes very challenging. And of course that sloping back, you've got these lions trying to jump onto the back of the giraffe, but with those deadly kicks, as Brad has said, it becomes very difficult. And it's a powerful creature on his legs anyway. You know, a lot of people look at them and assume he might be quite fragile and weak on his feet, but this is a powerful creature, make no mistake. Especially a big male like this, there's, you know, it would have to be a very confident, successful pride of lions to go after a giraffe like this. Alrighty, keep going. Alright guys, so lovely to spend a bit of time with a nice full giraffe there. We're going to keep going. I think we can still hear these elephants all feeding in the distance. So let's go see if we can have another look at them.
see there, Ryan?
I can.
You can hear these elephants, but they're nowhere around us, so we can get out a bit. So there's actually a couple of droppings here. You can see they're all white, all in one location. This is hyena droppings, spotted hyena. We actually don't get any brown hyena in this area, so that I can be sure of. But I do know they get them further west in Kruger, I believe, in the north.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is very typical, this white coloration here. In fact, I've seen them defecating, and I've seen them actually coming out white. But usually it starts off green and then changes color to white. And this is all because of the amount of bones that they eat in their diet. You know, all that calcium, and they're able to liquidate basically in their guts. Even teeth get digested by hyena. So yeah, and you end up having a very white poop. Yeah, and even hair is the only thing pretty much that they can't digest.
Which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Now everything else just gets pretty liquidated there, and even if you had to like kind of break it up, it's a fine powder. Very high lithium content. In fact, just for a bit of trivia there. So if you're having some depressive moments, in fact, you can treat depression with lithium. So you'll have to be, just before committing suicide?
Oh wow. Jeez. Rather just come and get some sun on safari. Yeah? Don't worry about hyena dung. Vitamin D, also good for that. Learn something every day. Eh? Yeah. Going. Come on in there.
Sure, that big bull just towers over them.
Yeah, amazing, eh? How that big guy stands out. We must have sat with them for, I don't know, maybe close to an hour actually earlier down in the river. But as I said, it was very slow going, and a lot of them just drinking water, quenching their thirst. Some of them half asleep. But as you can just about see now, I know it's probably quite difficult looking into the sun, but all straight back to feeding. And as we know, that's what these guys spend most of their time doing, is eating. They are eating machines. And of course they've moved into this very densely kind of wooded area here. Lots of variety of food for them, where they can kind of try and find the right nutrients and the right or sufficient amount for them to eat. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be pushing in there. You folks all know us, we generally don't shy away from a bit of off-roading, but this is it gets extremely dense, so there's not really much point. But yeah, I think we might just keep going, see if we can find anything else. We do have Trevor and Stuart on the other vehicle. Obviously we'll be in comms with them and see if they've managed to find anything. But for now, I think we'll leave these ellies be in the thicket here. If we find some more up ahead in the open, then that's great. But yeah, I think let's keep going. Another large male giraffe. So just looking at the kind of size, you can compare him to the bull we saw a few minutes ago, and you could imagine, not necessarily today, but these two would be competitors for sure. Both big breeding bulls, both capable of winning a fight and winning over females. And you know, talking about the power of these creatures, you can imagine the colossal battle between them when it comes to fighting. Some serious blows exchanged. Look at that. He's just showing off for you guys there. He's got all the moves, giving you guys all the angles. You can see constantly chewing away there. He obviously has just finished feeding off of this tree here. But what you guys might not have seen is that as he walked away, he actually swallowed what he had already kind of taken a mouthful of, and he's now regurgitated that and he's re-chewing it once again. So he is a ruminant. He's obviously got multiple kind of stomach chambers, and it's an extremely efficient digestive system. Main reason being is that he kind of gets to squeeze out most of that nutrients and really refine what he eats by regurgitating and re-chewing it time and time again, as you can see here. Whereas, you know, for some of our other species like the elephants who we've been spending time with, generally it goes in one side and literally straight back out the other. So definitely a far kind of different digestive system. There we go. Yeah, chewing again. So quite amazing. If you look closely, probably won't be able to see it on the camera, but you can actually see that bolus of food coming straight back up the throat there. You can visibly see it in the neck. Chews away once again. Alright, Fred, you don't want to jump off and hang out with your buddies here?
Good. Let him be.
Let him be.
I'll go and shoot my cut later with him.
Maybe let's come almost up there now. Come north and back around, and maybe if we see some of those lilies, I see there's some quite far ahead there. As they come out.
Others cut across, yeah?
Yeah?
There's others that we saw.
I don't know actually. I think yeah, it's a lot of them that come across. I saw some tracks crossing the road behind us. Quite nice to see here quickly, guys. So you can see all these little pellets that are scattered about here. This is a clue as to what the species is. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, but you can see this lovely spread over here. You can guess this is dropped from quite a height. You can see that. So this is a giraffe and his droppings. But just going back to what we're talking about, you can see extremely refined. If you have a look at that, I don't know if you can see that, right? So yeah, very refined, very well digested, and not much waste that has come out. And just very cool to see it right next to the big elephant dropping on the floor there, which of course is full of roughage. I mean, look at that. That's an entire stick that's gone completely undigested through that elephant's digestive system. So just quite interesting to see the results of the two different digestive systems there. Just something nice that I spotted on the way, but yeah, quite cool.
The other guys by them too.
I have no idea. Yeah, somewhere. Quite challenging to see, but a few more giraffe here, a couple of younger individuals that Brad very skillfully found for us. I don't know if you heard, but about 100 meters back he said there was more giraffe tracks, so we'll give him this one. 5 points for Brad. Yeah. Yeah. There's some master tracking skills there. But yeah, not too far off obviously from that male that we had seen, and not really any very rigid kind of herd structure with giraffe. So we generally see that females and their youngsters like to stick together just because of that kind of solidarity and element of security rather, whereas the males very often good, right? Males very often what happened there? Very often on their own, of course, you know, looking for females. Oh, there we go. Nice. Three or four at least, yeah, and then the other 2, 5. Nice big group. Very cool to see them all coming through. Alrighty guys, so we're going to keep just driving up around the corner here. Those ellies might have popped out here. This is kind of the block that they were cutting straight through, but it is quite a large block. But if we do have an opportunity to see them nicely in the clearing here, we will do just that. But otherwise we're going to be in comms now with the other team, see if they've got anything else to show you. If not, then it'll just be nice to see their faces and have a bit of a catch up there. But yeah, let's see what's around the corner. off there. There we go. Some kudu. As I said there, I don't know if they've featured. Have you guys done kudu on your side?
Not that I can think of actually.
Yeah, and right, we haven't done kudu much, eh? Yeah, well there we go, guys. Kudu, one of the
Elusive kudu.
the elusive kudu, yeah, standing out in the open. Generally quite a shy antelope. It is the largest antelope that we kind of get out here commonly. But as I said, very large, but very, very shy. They generally prefer to kind of stick to the more densely wooded areas. Like the giraffe, they're also browsers, so they eat leaves and only leaves. But you can see just those lovely white markings down the side, those vertical white markings. Those are disruptive markings. And you can imagine that just helps to break up the outline of the kudu's body when they move in behind some dense vegetation. So not necessarily the most kind of athletic or the speediest antelope out here, but they do have that ability to just completely disappear when they move off into the thickets. So generally we might see them burst off in a zigzag fashion and kind of then freeze a couple of meters later, turn towards whatever's chasing them and stand completely dead still. So yeah, very ghost-like in some ways. Some people often refer to them as the grey ghosts of Africa. Can be quite elusive and quite enigmatic, but very, very beautiful. And what we didn't see here were the males, who are generally the most impressive. The king of all antelope with the big corkscrew spiral horns. So maybe one of these days, if you keep tuning in, we'll show you some male kudu, which might be quite difficult, but we'll try. But yeah, I think, as I said, nice way to sign off with a lesser seen species there. And I think we're going to probably hand you guys over in about a minute to the other guys. So yeah, thanks very much from my side.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next Monday.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really hope you enjoyed the first segment of this afternoon safari. It's such a beautiful afternoon, and we can definitely feel in the air that spring is right here. Nice and warm, and you can see the trees are starting to blossom. So as we head out, again, please, if anybody would like to ask any questions, you're more than welcome. We're going to enjoy a nice drive. We are just north of the lodge in the clearings, and we're going to bumble our way and see what we can find along the way. So we've got Stewie on camera and tracking today. As you can see, there's a bit of a blank spot there, but he's going to multitask for us today. So you'll pretty much get this afternoon's drive through the eyes of the tracker, which I think would be quite exciting for you guys as the viewers. And if you'd like to ask us any questions, you're more than welcome. So while we've got such beautiful light, let's go enjoy our drive. That's half of me there. The real me is behind the camera and safely on the chair, so that's the first part of it successfully done. Let's see your multitasking skills. So if you see Stuart's shadow look left and the camera right, you know he's a bit confused, but we'll get there. Nice herd of impala up ahead. They came down to the water hole while we were waiting for you all, and they're just slowly moving off now.
bit like rush hour traffic.
Yeah, this time of the afternoon, you often, after a drink of water, possibly start keeping to the open areas as night falls. They don't want to be in the thickets and that. Give them an opportunity to see a predator. We can also start to notice that the females are starting to show signs of being pregnant. We've got a couple of months until the rains, and hopefully we'll start seeing all the new young lambs running around.
Lovely peaceful afternoon, but as a tracker you're always got your ears pricked up listening for any other sounds around you, and generally speaking not necessarily watching what the animals are doing specifically, but also what's around us in the surrounding areas. You see how the behavior of all of these impala have done the same. So they've pricked up their ears and now they're all looking at something that's off to our right. And that's got me wondering what that might be.
Now often people ask why do they always see impala in groups and that, and here's a perfect example. You've got numerous eyes and ears, all able to listen for perhaps a predator or smell a predator, or just investigating a sound that doesn't seem normal to them. It's always about survival of the fittest, and in a group like this they have more chance to survive and listen out for danger. So we're going to listen a little bit, maybe we hear something there.
You can see how they've all kind of relaxed a little bit. Some are still listening, but others are trusting in the instincts of those few individuals. They haven't all kind of focused in or zeroed in on one particular thing, so it's not something that's particularly obvious, I don't think. Like Trevor said, we're not too far away from the lodge at all. Rock lodge up on the top of the hill there. And this is a big open area that we look down from Rock Lodge, and we often see a lot of wildlife moving through this area. Possibly, yeah, it's just behind the marula tree. Can't quite see it from here, but kudu being a bit of a social animal in small gregarious groups, there might be more than one there. Buffer on the tracker seat. This afternoon light is perfect for a tracker to be able to pick up the definition in the tracks. So often we are scanning the ground and you can see how apparent some of those tracks are. Casting a nice shadow in a very defined track. Quite a few zebra and through here some buffalo tracks I can see as well. You can see the other part of that little group of kudu ahead. Very large ears, phenomenally good hearing. The kudu, look at the habitat type that they live. They are browsers, so they generally live in thicker wooded areas, so they rely heavily on their hearing to listen out for predators. You'll see now this time of the year is very dry,
bits of leaves or forbs lower down. Of all the antelope species, the kudu is the highest jumping antelope. Often been seen clearing the whole road. They've been renowned to jump over a 2-meter fence very easily. There's very distinct white stripes on the grey body there to break up the pattern of the animal for camouflage. There's also the ever-present red-billed oxpecker on her back there, looking for ticks and parasites. We'll go a bit forward for you there, Stu.
No, we've got a good view here. She's coming out to the side here. Look at that. Very, very distinct coloration in the inside of her ears when she catches the sun as she turns to look at us.
You may have noticed she walked actually straight past a tree there with nice fleshy green leaves called the apple leaf, and she didn't even feed on it. And what's interesting there is that that particular leaf is full of tannin, which is a chemical defense plants use to protect themselves, and she knows that it's full of tannin and distasteful, so she literally walked past and she's busy feeding on some forbs lower to the ground.
And look at that, how she just moved behind that silver cluster leaf tree, and those white stripes that Trevor was referring to, just completely disrupting her shape there and giving her a fantastic camouflage as she browses on the tree there. Her white upper lip still stands out quite nicely though. Look at that, just catching the sun perfectly. There's quite a young member of the herd back to our left, which this kudu is looking out at. Perhaps wondering if she's going to come and join them. A bit separated now. Not too shy at all.
She's very relaxed, isn't she?
Just coming into a new area, so finding a new route, and you never know what new tracks might be on that new route, so always casting an eye to the ground.
we're driving around, lovely general game around. You know, there's always more to it than just the big animals. A bit of tracking, as Stewie showing you guys, and seeing the lovely different antelope species. You know, our intention is always to have the holistic approach. As the seasons change, we always get to see different things. It's coming into the summer months now, the trees, the blossoms, we have some of the migratory birds coming back. We actually saw a little night, one of the first birds to come back from North Africa. So always very exciting times coming into the spring. Domestic travel happening now, things are looking up. We are hoping to put teams together and to start looking at the March fairly soon. And then hopefully for international travel, things are back on track and we can share this wonderful experience with you guys.
It's a new sound to our ears for the season. Sounds like someone's pumping up a squeaky bicycle tire. Can't quite see it. It's a remarkably camouflaged bird. It's called a red-crested korhaan, one of the larger ground-dwelling birds. Somewhere over there. So they're starting to advertise their presence now, perhaps looking for a mate. Spring is nearly about to spring, literally. So yeah, like
Also
Trevor's.
we nicknamed it the kamikaze bird. This poor male, his display is quite fascinating in that he makes this call and then he starts another call and then he literally flies up, erects his very distinct red crest, gets to about 20-30 meters, folds his wings in and literally falls out the sky like a sack of potatoes, and just before he hits the ground he opens his wings, and that's what he has to do to impress a female. So I don't know how the females gauge of what height does he open his wings at, but clearly some of them have got it wrong in the past. It'll be interesting to see a young male practicing this, and if he gets it wrong or right would be pretty fascinating to watch. But all these new sounds, as Stu was mentioning, is a change in season, and that red-crested korhaan, that particular call, such a nice sound to hear, definitely indicating that spring's on its way.
I've had many a guest see that bird displaying like that for the very first time and thought that it had just had a heart attack as it took off up into the air and fell down, straight down to the ground. Just want to have a look at this little patch of earth here, Trev, that seems to be dug up, which wasn't there a few days ago. It's got to be wary. We can see some buffalo have been in the area.
There's the tracks over there of the buffalo. But what Stewie's mentioned and seen as we've been driving along is this burrow over here.
So what I just noticed as we came through the area was just this pile of earth that had been freshly dug up here, and clumps of earth, all displaced. And then there's a little bit of a track here where this animal perhaps was resting as it was digging with its forefeet. And then you can see down the sides here, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there's quite a few striation marks where this animal has scraped at the sides here, digging down deep. So an aardvark, as everyone is probably very familiar with, a very long snout with a very sensitive sense of smell, very strong sense of smell, quite big ears for hearing as well. And they move around. They're a nocturnal animal. They move around at night time, or in some regions perhaps in the later part of the afternoon, especially when it gets very, very cold at night. Their prey or their food items are particularly termites and perhaps some ant species, predominantly termites. And those are more active up at the surfaces before it gets too cold at certain times of the year in certain areas. But around here, almost strictly nocturnal. We hardly ever get to see them on an afternoon game drive. But their presence is obviously quite obvious with signs of them being here. So this was not really a burrow. They do live in a burrow. They can dig their own burrows, but this was more of an exploratory dig site where perhaps they were moving through the area and picked up on a sound of maybe some of the subterranean termites coming up to the surface, or perhaps just smelling in particularly poignant spots and come across here and had a bit of an exploratory dig. So they've got extremely powerful sort of digits. They don't have particularly sharp claws, but they're extremely strong, almost blunted, a bit similar to the shape of ours. And they can scrape out here and into soil that's very rock hard. So this was just an exploratory dig of an aardvark as it moved through here. So proof that they do exist, even though we don't get to see them that often. Very, very rare sighting for us. We always get very excited and jump up and down when we hear of an aardvark sighting in this area. Great asset as a tracker is obviously to know your environment, to know your surroundings, and become quite familiar with certain landmarks through the game reserve, and perhaps where certain animals with particular habitual traits move through that area again and again. So we're always looking at particular termite mounds or particular trees where we know leopards seem to have a favorite spot, or game paths, prominent game paths that have been established over time, where we have a likelihood of seeing animals moving between one area and another on those same paths time and time again. So always casting our eye about for those particular landmarks. No leopard casually sunning itself on the top of that termite mound. Some of you commenting about the rainy season, or the first rains, looking a bit brown and dusty at the moment.
This time of the year, coming to September, October, We are in our driest time of the year. Generally our rain starts mid-late October coming into November. It's a phenomenal time of the year for game bee because as you can see the bush is pretty open, quite easy to see. Fabulous weather. So you also notice a lot of the trees are a bit some target because of the lack of leaves and grass. The temperature, beautiful night skies. This time of the year is wonderful. So we're always looking forward to the first rains because you see how the bush can transform, which is always something very special to see. You get like the 10 or 15 mils of rain, some lightning, and then all of a sudden within a week or two the bush just transforms, which is such a magical sight to see. And then we start in the summer months, we start seeing lots of bird life change. Beetles are around, insects start coming out, which are fantastic to see. Trees are pollinating. Really interesting time of the year to be in the bush.
Looks like some hyena tracks back there, Trevor. Can hear some crested francolins just calling out for something that's here. Listen to this. It's a crested francolin alarm calling. The prominent white eyebrow and then the brown crest above it is completely erected. Definitely.
When you hear these calls, may indicate perhaps a predator's walked past, a bird of prey. Sometimes we find if it's a leopard, they'll be in a tree or in a high post area, calling like this. It's not a call to locate each other. This is an alarm call. Let's investigate down in the river bed.
Just having a look on the ground here for any sign of predator moving through the area, Trev. Perhaps something down in the riverbed itself. An impala down this way that's not too bothered about anything. You know, whether that's an alarm call for a predatory cat or a bird of prey, even a snake. Not entirely sure. There's no physical sign here of any of the main predatory cats. These impala don't seem to be too worried about anything right now. Yeah. Having a look down here at some tracks. And those particular tracks there have got 5 digits to them, so indicating that the baboons walk through here. I heard him before I saw him. I was just about to say I've been practicing my yoga moves all week for this particular stint. But here we go, look at this. Oh, you had a fantastic sighting of Ellie's earlier, but you can never have enough Ellie out on safari. Look at that.
A nice young bull. You can see he's had a nice mud wallow during the day. You can see the mud all caked on his skin at the back there. Many people ask, you know, with the wrinkly skin of an elephant, has it got to do with their age? And it's got nothing to do with their age. It's actually a cooling agent. That damp mud will get into the crack of the skin and actually stay damp for a longer period of time than what it would on a smooth surface. So during the heat of the day, especially now as we're coming towards spring and summer, the heat of the day, they'll coat their bodies in mud, perhaps even swim to cool their bodies down, and then for the rest of the afternoon a dust bath, and keep their bodies cool.
the camera, we can see this is how we're seeing him as the sun sets low on the horizon, and then just bring him into a bit more focus for you at home. That's called auto zoom.
He's got such a lovely set of tusks. He has huge potential, this guy, to be really big. See, again, he's looking for the grass in the shaded areas and shaking the sand bits off, and then in it goes. You know, for a big animal like this that needs to eat about 180 kilograms of food a day, especially this time of the year, he's got to put in extra effort. That's often why they're feeding on the bark and trying to get any nourishment he can.
So not a strange question at all. Something just came through about whether an elephant gets flatulence. Oh boy, does an elephant get flatulence.
He's got a simple stomach, and eating 180 kilograms of food, there's a lot of space to store a lot of gas.
Wow. Feeling nice and exposed out here on the front of the vehicle now, but I trust this elephant. He's only maybe 3 or 4 meters away from us now. Let's just say I trust the elephant's behavior, and I trust Trevor's interpretation of the elephant's behavior. How about that?
Often many people ask these questions and we base it on their behavior. Him just flaring his ears, he's just reminding us that he's bigger. He's a young bull, so he's often got to show by his body posturing that he is more powerful than us, which we acknowledge and we'll always respect. But sometimes with these young bulls, you know, it becomes a game. You know, you drive, he chases you. But actually he's a little bit more nervous of us than that of him. So sitting tight, seeing his behavior like we did there, watching his body language, him just flaring his ears was just pretty much reminding us that he's bigger than us, which we naturally respect. But what is important is that you don't panic, start the vehicle, rev it, which will just naturally upset him even more. And you could see your trackers was on the camera and he was pretty close to him. And the most important thing is the teamwork, trusting one another's ability to read the animal. And we will never intentionally or put anyone in danger, but more importantly respect the animal and watch his body language. So that was just displaying. You can see the camera still very steady, so Stewie's still fine. But that was just a lovely display of a young bull just showing and posturing, showing us how big he is, and so beautiful with the sunset in the background. So I hope you weren't too nervous at home, but we really enjoyed that.
Stuck behind the bushes now and moved off to feed on another tree. I think he came this way. I don't know if we're going to put Trevor to another of his elephant dung tests, freshness tests. I think he.
I'll stick to driving today.
Yeah.
That's brand new. You can see it's brand new.
Yeah.
I think you guys should ask Stewie to monitor traffic.
Yeah. I'm experienced enough to know that if it's still steaming, then it's still fresh. finger in it like you did the other day. Yeah, I spotted her there, but I'm not sure if we might be able to get her.
Camouflage is amazing.
Yeah, she's
Let's
hiding.
get to our favourite spot for the sunset.
Yes. See, a lot of our guests are enthusiastic for their amarulas this afternoon.
Let's get to our favourite spot.
See, you can tell we are going off-road here. That's because we've spotted something over to our right-hand side here, just moving away from that spot you were just referring to, Trev.
Always what happens when you plan something, that's the unpredictability of the bush is always so much fun. We've got two nice big buffalo bulls.
You're talking about the animals, not us.
Yes. Got a face like that, sure. I get a nice view of these two big bulls. They're camera shy.
I'm sure they'll move through this gap shortly.
Yeah. They've
We'll get-
possibly just left the watering hole we're heading towards. So we'll have a quick look at them before we head to our watering hole. Lovely big bull. You can see how they've both been mud wallowing today as well. The one on the left hand side as well. So during the heat of the day these guys would have been lying up to cool their bodies down. He's lost the tip of his tail, that guy.
See if we can get one last glimpse through this next gap here.
The bull at the back, you can see he's lost his tail, and often, possibly due to a lion attack, often when lions try to attack them, they will jump on their backs and bite into their spines or pull down on the tail to try anchor them so the rest of the pride can try and anchor the buffalo to be able to kill it. So he's a lucky one. I'm sure that was a pride of lions that tried to kill him, and you can see distinctly how he's lost his tail. So he lives to see another day. Let's head to our sundowner spot.
See the prominent game path that they're following from that mud wallow back to their feeding grounds.
His little stumpy tail trying to move.
Need some assistance, Trevor, or you know where the road is? Yeah, you got it. See the bubbles.
Let's head up this side of the road.
I don't think I could have timed that better myself, Trev. That is
I told you why we needed to see the buffalo.
spectacular.
Such a lovely way to end the day. With the hippos, some lovely bird calls. So what we're going to do for this last bit of the sunset, folks, we're gonna let you enjoy the bush sounds instead of our voices. But what we want to say is thank you very much for always following us. We hope you've had a lot of fun with us this afternoon, and we're coming close now with our country being in level 2. Our crew are getting ready, the lodges are getting ready. So let's hope in the next few months that we're able to travel and for you guys to come out and enjoy it with us. So I'm going to say goodbye, and from Stewie as well. I hope you enjoyed that through the eye of the tracker this afternoon, and enjoy the lovely bush sounds and the hippos. See you next week.
Cheers, everybody. Have a wonderful week.